So I thought that this video is going to stretch towards the next week.
Next week!
Hello you guys, welcome back. So this was supposed to be the Halloween special, but things were just going here and there in the process and it consumed a lot of time, so yeah. You guys voted for Preminger and he won against Rowena, so let's start working on his wickedness. I will be using this fashionista Ken who has articulated arms. I've been keeping him for something special, so I guess this is it. The head I've swapped since I only need the neck mechanism for the sculpt base. I first thought to shorten the legs from 2 areas and reuse most of it, but then I decided not to do that and sculpt the legs entirely. Although I'm not great at sculpting, and these will be my very first leg sculpt, so I did try my best to do a decent job. I filled the hollow base with some paper and poured super glue to harden it, then stuck wire one thick and one thin together in the middle, and then secured it with super glue and baking soda. This helps to harden the glue and makes it very strong if you ever want to try it. After that, I sketched the leg shape and I used the cut leg as a reference here. This sketch will be very helpful while sculpting with clay. I will fill the shape a bit with some newspaper and then I'll cover it up with some tin foil. I'll try to keep it thinner so the clay won't add more bulk than required. I will also sculpt the shoes, which will again be a first one for me. I began by adding the clay to form the basic shape. Right now I just want this to be just a basic simple filling, which after it dries I can sand it to achieve a more refined shape. After that I fill the clay and I smooth it. After I fill the clay I smooth it a bit with a wet brush and fingers, and then I'll leave it to dry overnight. Now let's work on the face and head sculpt. I will remove the head entirely and keep the neck area which attaches onto the body. I'll make a small wire armature on this plastic piece and cover that up with foam clay. The wire I'm using is not too hard, it's just perfect. I wait 24 hours for the foam clay to dry, and while I was at it I also made a wire armature for Preminger's dog, Midas. So the legs are dry. I took it outside and sanded the legs. Now I will fill any cracks and also refine the leg shape to the best of my abilities, of course. I just love working with this clay. For anyone who doesn't know, this is my self-made calcium carbonate air dry clay and it's awesome. You should give it a try if you want to. To add more clay, each time I dampen the area a little bit, score it, and then add clay and work from there. Now sculpting the shoes. I did make just a basic shape of the feet in heels. Now I'm just adding more clay to form the shoes. I used tools and a damp brush to shape the clay. I was a bit afraid while sculpting the shoes since I've never experimented with sculpting shoes, but as I kept working on them it became addictive. I was wanting to keep working with the tools and smooth out the surface again and again, maybe because this clay is quite forgiving and I just couldn't dislike the experience, unlike the damn cold porcelain that I've tried before. Such fancy shoes only Preminger could pull though. While I was sculpting, I was thinking of painting these shoes and I wanted to give Preminger red bottoms since he's so sassy, and just like Hexton would, I would love to give someone or anyone red bottoms. The shoes are finally done. Now I'll start sculpting the face. Ooh, this is gonna be interesting. At this point, again, I was afraid and excited and eager to find out what would happen with this clay, sculpting a face, a custom face. First, I will fill the entire shape and form sort of an egg shape. I've learned this from another sculpting channel, Melita Art. I'll link her below. She's just phenomenal. I make marks with a thread for the placement of the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. After that, I start working with the tools. I'll add clay for the nose, the forehead, and the cheeks, and subtract clay from the eye area. All this while, I was watching Princess the Pauper, and I have to say, Preminger is deservingly people's favorite villain, because such sass and evilness together couldn't exist anywhere else but within Preminger. I spent a few hours on the first sitting. My main goal was to achieve the basic shape of Preminger's face, and after that I'll let it dry completely. After it dried, I gave it a light sanding. After I sanded, I drew the eyes and eyebrows with a pencil to further work on the sculpt. I dampened the area, score it, and then add more clay, and then sculpt it. To take some dry clay off, to carve it, I again dampen the area with a brush, and with a tool then I carve out the desired area. I add more clay on the eye area and also the brow bone. I also refine the nose. At this point, the work is more delicate. I mostly carve and sand to achieve the likeness of the face. Ta-da! Lastly, I gave it a thin white glue coat. Now the iconic attire. I have maroon and purple satin. I made the patterns and cut out the fabric. There will be embroidery on the sleeves and the overcoat, for which I've prepared the fabrics. I drew the shapes on the coat piece. At first, I used loose silk threads. I wanted to use the metallic gold, but I couldn't, and the loose silk one did not work for me this time, sadly, so I'm now using this spool of thick embroidery thread. I opened the 3 strands, pulled them apart, and flat ironed them, and this worked beautifully. I loved the outcome. All this embroidery took so long. I was so done at the end, but well, Now sewing it together. I first sewed the sleeve bits together. I also pleated the top of the sleeves by hand. Then I sewed the coat together. This is how it looks. I'll line it with the same purple satin. I sew tricky things like the sleeves and the collars first by hand because pins just don't work great. Then I machine sew them on top. This is the inner shirt. I'll embellish it later. And I also sewed the trousers. I had a mess up in the middle, and this is the second try. There were a lot of mess ups. I'll apply gold trim on the edges of the trousers later as well. Now on to painting the legs. I layered a couple of coats of greens, then ochre and gold mix for the shoes and black bottoms. Painting the sculpted face was so exciting. I applied 2 layers of the same base tone, then gave it subtle shadows with a slightly darker tone. Then applied some highlights, then onto the face up. Of course, just like I usually like my customs, a very doll style face up, simple and classic. After filling white in the eyes, I did introduce a wee bit more shadows on the face, then the smile, the lips, which I painted with very thin layers of acrylic, so it does give off sort of a natural look. Preminger's eye color is so unique. I loved painting this for him. After this finished, I reattached the head onto the body. Now I'll glue the hair on his head. I've prepared yarn for his hair. Now I'll glue it section by section, keeping the hairstyle in mind. For the hairstyle, I'll use some of the brushed out yarn on the poofy areas of the hairstyle and use hairspray to set it all in place. So I did make Midas side by side as well, as I showed you the armature in the video earlier. I filled it with foam clay and then I let it dry, then made custom flocking with embroidery thread and glued it onto the furry parts. Then I gave him a few acrylic washes to achieve a nice color. And now for the reveal. I am so glad I was able to make Preminger the most iconic Barbie movie villain of all time. Share your thoughts in the comments if you can. Share this with more people who love Princess and the Pauper. Now for the next one, Rapunzel miniseries 1 against Fashion Fairy Tale miniseries by your votes. So don't forget to vote under this video between 2 of Rapunzel's looks from the movie. I am ecstatic to start the Rapunzel series because I just love Rapunzel. It will have all her looks and maybe surprise elements as well. So stay tuned and keep voting. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon with Rapunzel in my next one. Peace.